Respiratory ailments. Respiratory ailments. Free heal programs for asthma, bronchitis, emphysema and other revolutionary breathing disorders in Asthma Day programs. Breathing or respiratory disorders are one of the most common problems facing society today. You have to consider that there are quite a lot of respiratory ailments, which include asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema to name a few. These respiratory ailments can be troublesome as they can affect your breathing, which can be very uncomfortable. Today, there are millions of Americans who are affected by asthma. Asthma is a chronic disease of the lungs where your airway will become constricted and inflamed. The airway will also be linked with excessive amounts of mucus. The main causes that can trigger asthma attacks are exposure to environmental stimulants or allergens. However, there are some cases where asthma can also be triggered by excessive exercise, cold air, and even emotional stress. During asthma attacks, you will experience shortness of breath, wheezing, coughing, and chest tightness. Between episodes of asthma attacks, most people who suffer from this disease feel fine. The best way to treat asthma is by identifying the allergen that causes it. It can be your pet or it can be medications, such as aspirin. By limiting or eliminating exposure to these allergens, you can effectively manage your illness. Another kind of respiratory illness is called bronchitis. Bronchitis is a respiratory disorder where the bronchi of the lungs become inflamed. Most people who suffer from this illness are people who are habitual tobacco or cigarette smokers. Also, people who live in cities with heavy air pollution are also affected. There are two classifications of bronchitis, one is acute bronchitis and the other is acute bronchitis. Chronic bronchitis is considered a long-term illness where it is accompanied by symptoms of persistent coughing that produces sputum. Acute and chronic bronchitis have the same signs and symptoms, such as persistent coughing, shortness of breath, mild fever, fatigue, mild chest pains, vibrations in the chest while breathing, and coldness. In most cases, acute bronchitis is caused by viruses where it will go away on its own after a few days. The only thing that you have to do is get plenty of rest and plenty of water or non-alcoholic and non-caffeine beverages. However, with bronchitis that is caused by bacteria, you may need to take some antibiotics. Another form of respiratory ailments is called emphysema. This particular respiratory illness is a chronic obstructive lung disease that is caused by long-term exposure to tobacco smoke and exposure to toxic chemicals. This particular disease is characterized by losing the elasticity of the lung tissue. Symptoms will include shortness of breath after a light exercise or by simply climbing the stairs. This respiratory disease is an irreversible and degenerative condition. This means that in order to prevent the condition to grow worse, it is important that you should prevent yourself from being exposed to toxic chemicals and also by quitting smoking or staying away from cigarette or tobacco smoke. Today, there is a program that will be able to help you in the treatment of the mentioned conditions and other respiratory illnesses. World Asthma Day provides treatments and informs people about the new and revolutionary treatment for certain lung disorders which may include asthma, bronchitis, and even emphysema. There will be a lot of activities in this program that can help you cope with your respiratory illness. It will also include new technologies and medicines available that can effectively treat different kinds of respiratory conditions, and many organizations around the world will participate. You will see that the World Asthma Day will be comprised of different medical organizations that are dedicated on researching about the different kinds of respiratory illness. So, if you are suffering from a respiratory disorder, you should try and join World Asthma Day as it can provide you with a lot of benefits. There are different kinds of organizations that will help you to become more informed about the breakthrough in medical technology for treating various respiratory illnesses. There will also be seminars conducted on the prevention of respiratory diseases. Whether you have asthma, bronchitis, or emphysema, you can seek free medical assistance with World Asthma Day. Prevent respiratory illnesses from taking control of your life by being informed about them and knowing how to prevent them or treat them if you are suffering from respiratory conditions.